possible. There's a lot of people here. So I'm going to try not to freak out, but there are a lot of you. Also, this isn't very funny, so just prepare yourselves for that. There will be a Q&A session, however, so hopefully that will be funny. All right, so I have this kid. So I have this kid. He just turned 1. That's next. So my kid just turned 1. He's a really cool kid. His name is Henry. But he seems to believe that he's actually and literally the only person who has ever existed in all of human history. And he believes, I want you to look into his eyes and see how true this is. He believes that all other carbon-based life forms are robots, whose sole purpose of existence is to see that he gets whatever he wants at the precise moment he wants it. It's kind of like Henry doesn't understand that other people are people. I'm fascinated by this problem, partly because I think it's universal, and partly because if I could convince Henry of the value of empathy, he would be much less likely to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, with that background, I want to talk a little bit today about why I write books and make videos, but first, I want to tell you a story. And some of you have already heard this story. In fact, many of you have. So for you, I give you Garrett Busey family photo to look at for a while, because that's funny. So just enjoy that while I tell the story. So my friend, I was living with my friend Hassan. This was in Chicago, right during the first, the second invasion of Iraq. And my friend Hassan, his family lives on the Kuwaiti border with Iraq in a little village. And as soon as the war started, he lost all ability to communicate with his family. And he was really whiny about this. He would never shut up about how he didn't know that his family was safe or anything. And his way of dealing with it was that he would watch CNN 24 hours a day. And I don't mean that he would watch CNN like 16 hours a day and then sleep 8 hours a day. I mean he would watch CNN 24 hours a day. And we only had one television, and there were 4 of us living in this place. And every now and again we'd come, down to the TV and we'd say, Hassan, I am also concerned about your family, but I want to watch Friends. And he would say, no, we gotta watch this. And I was like, they're not gonna report Hassan's family as well. So the only way to hang out with Hassan or to watch TV in this apartment was to sit on the couch that Hassan sat on and watch CNN with him. So one day I'm watching CNN with him, and they show some new footage, and it's one of those situations where new footage is coming in, and the anchor is looking at it for the first time, just like we're looking at it for the first time, but the anchor has a microphone, so what he says has authority. And it's a picture of a house with a huge hole in one of the walls. It's clearly a bomb hole, and that people have put plywood over, and on that plywood is scrawled in very angry-looking black Arabic graffiti. Oh, that's my... Guys, you gotta turn off your cameras. No, it's always me. Now my phone's gonna ring. On that wall is scrawled in very angry-looking Arabic graffiti, something in black spray paint. And the guy on TV is talking about the anger on the Arab street and the yada, yada, yada. And Hassan starts to laugh. And I said, what's so funny? And he said, the graffiti. I said, what's funny about it? He said, it says, happy birthday, sir, despite the circumstances. So clearly the problem of failing to apprehend the full and complete humanity of people other than oneself is not a problem that is reserved solely for my son. It was as a direct result of that story, by the way, that I ended up writing my novel, An Abundance of Catherines, because I wanted to write about a regular Muslim kid living in America for whom being a Muslim is not finally that big of a deal. So my question to you tonight is how we come to believe that other people are as human as we are, that people far away from us have birthdays and real griefs and real joys. I believe that it is through story, that in fact that's why we invented story in the first place. When I was a teenager, it was stories like The Catcher in the Rye, and The Bluest Eye, and Fallen Angels that were so incontestably true and human that I could not deny the humanity that I shared with the people in those stories. And one of the funny things about reading, as opposed to, living, is that when you're living, you see everyone in the context of you, right? So your best friend is your best friend. Your girlfriend is your girlfriend. You don't see people in the context of themselves. But one of the magical things about reading is that you do come to see people in the context of themselves. You stop being you all the time, and you become Holden Caulfield in a way that you can't become your best friend, or your sister, or your parents, or anyone. When I'm writing, I want to reveal the inner life of the people I'm writing about. I don't want my readers to feel like they know Pudge, or they know Alaska, or Hassan, or Colin, or Q, or Margot, or Tiny Cooper. I want them to feel that they have seen for a moment what it is like to be those people. And the reason I think books are so well positioned to do this is because they are, more than any other art form, a co-creation between the reader and the writer. Like, I just got the Chinese edition of all 3 of my books. They published them simultaneously in mainland China, and they sent me all 3 of them. And I wrote these books. I spent a lot of time on them. I know about what happens in them. I remember, not necessarily, oh, hi, Gary Busey. Not necessarily, oh, by the way, we're going to get to him. I don't necessarily remember all the words in them, but I remember, a lot of what happens in the books that I wrote. And I got these 3 books in Chinese, and I started paging through them. And I realized that not only was I not able to read these books, I didn't know which was which. It took me forever. Finally, I just took a picture of the cover of one of them, and I emailed it to some people I know who speak Chinese, and I was like, which one is this? And they were back, and they were like, I think looking for Alaska, but I'm not sure. And the reason for that is that I can't crack the code of Chinese, but I can crack the code of English. So, essentially, this is just meaningless scratches on a page until you interpret it, until you take it and make it real in your mind. That to me is the absolute magic of writing and of reading, is that because there is this act of abstraction, because I have to take what's inside of my mind and basically write it out in hieroglyphs, and then you translate it. You become the co-creator of the work in that act of translation. That fascinates me because what I really like in writing or in making videos or in my life is collaboration. Like, I like making stuff with people I like. And that for me is what reading is. And I believe that because readers co-create novels to such an extent, we as readers find ourselves inside the lives of other people so completely that I, at least, become finally convinced of the reality of other people. This raises, by the way, the distressing possibility that my son will not be able to understand that I am important and my sleep is important until such a time as he is able to read. In a strange way, I would argue that this confirms our own existence, because most of our mattering is wrapped up in the context of one another. I spent 3 years writing my first novel, Looking for Alaska, at night and on weekends. I wanted to write that book partly for myself. I was haunted by the ghosts I'd encountered while working as a chaplain at a children's hospital, and I was struggling to reconcile myself to the reality of injustice and loss and guilt, struggling most of all with the massive undertaking of forgiveness. So I wrote it partly for me, but in many ways I was seeking a conversation with readers. I didn't want to make something for an audience. I wanted to make something with an audience. That's why I write books. I want to make stuff with people I like. And that's also why I make videos on the internet. And now